Before stepping into the cage against the star fighter Dakota Ditcheva, a group of overconfident opponents made one terrible mistake. They underestimated her. Each of them swore that they would be the one to end Dakota's rise. They mocked her skills, accused her of cheating, and even questioned the way she wrapped her hands. Some bragged about their experience, claiming it was far greater than hers. "If you compare my fight record," one said proudly, "it's massive. She won't last against me." But as history would soon prove, all those words came back to haunt them. The same women who promised to destroy her would later realize they had just made the biggest mistake of their careers. Dakota Ditcheva, the British-Bulgarian sensation, didn't talk much. She didn't need to. Her actions spoke louder than any interview ever could. When she entered the Professional Fighters League in 2022, she didn't just compete, she dominated. In her first two appearances, Dakota crushed her opponents with ruthless first-round knockouts, announcing her arrival to the world in violent fashion. Commentators were in disbelief as she finished her rivals with precision and power. One of them exclaimed, "That's it! What a right hand!" The crowd roared as Dakota's hand was raised. It was the beginning of something special. Just a year later, she joined the PFL Europe tournament, where the winner would claim a massive $100,000 prize. In the quarterfinals, she choked out Min Hermansen with a flawless rear-naked choke, the first submission win of her career. She had proven that she wasn't just a striker. She could finish fights anywhere. Then came the semifinals in Paris. Her opponent was Cornelia Holm, a dangerous submission artist known for putting people to sleep and breaking arms without remorse. Holm had warned everyone that Dakota would never survive a three-round war. "My experience is huge," she said confidently. "The later rounds are my territory." When the fight began, the tension was thick. The two women glared at each other during the face-off, ice in their eyes. Dakota opened with sharp jabs and long kicks, measuring distance. Within seconds, Holm shot for a takedown, trying to drag her to the mat. But Dakota was ready. She showed her improved wrestling defense, kept her balance, and punished Holm with brutal knees to the body. Every strike echoed through the arena. Holm tried to hang on, clinging to Dakota like her life depended on it. Somehow, she survived the first round. But in the second, Dakota unleashed a thunderous right hand that rocked Holm so hard she stumbled across the cage. Holm's legs wobbled. The crowd gasped. Dakota pressed forward, relentless, throwing combinations with laser precision. Holm tried again for a takedown, but Dakota flipped the script, took her down instead, and threatened to choke her out. She was now proving she could out-grapple a grappler. In the third round, Dakota went in for the kill. A quick 1-2 combination smashed Holm's guard apart, and a high kick ended the fight. Holm collapsed to the canvas. It was over. The referee rushed in. The arena erupted. Dakota's streak of dominance continued, and her reputation grew to legendary status. By 2023, she had become the face of PFL Europe. Calm, cold, and precise. Dakota was feared not only for her power, but for her ability to dismantle opponents like a surgeon. Then came Sumiko Inaba, known as the Lady Samurai. Unlike Dakota, Sumiko fought like a storm. Short, powerful, and wild, she rushed forward with reckless aggression. She wasn't afraid to take a punch to land one of her own. Her record, 8 wins and only 1 loss, was impressive, and her toughness was undeniable. Before the fight, Inaba boasted that Dakota had never faced someone like her. "She's never been hit hard," she said. "When I touch her, she'll feel it." On July 19th in Cape Town, South Africa, they met under bright lights. From the moment the bell rang, It was war. Inaba refused to touch gloves, and Dakota didn't care. They wanted to hurt each other. Inaba stormed forward immediately, pressing Dakota against the fence. But Dakota stayed composed, landing crisp counterpunches and elbows from the clinch. Every strike she threw was clean and calculated. Inaba tried to smother her, pushing her back, but Dakota's Muay Thai skills began to shine. She reversed positions and fired knee after knee to the ribs. You could hear the thuds echo across the arena. Inaba gritted her teeth and kept charging. The lady samurai refused to retreat, but she was getting torn apart piece by piece. By the second round, Inaba's face was swollen and bloodied. Dakota remained calm, timing her strikes perfectly. A right hand rocked Inaba, and knees followed, smashing into her body and skull. It was a masterclass of violence. Yet somehow, Inaba refused to fall. Her toughness kept her upright, even as she absorbed punishment most fighters would never recover from. Dakota's combinations were relentless. Jabs, elbows, knees, each one thrown with accuracy and purpose. The commentators could barely keep up. "This is one-way traffic," they shouted. The crowd was on its feet. But even in domination, something unexpected happened. In the third round, Dakota signaled to her corner that she had broken her left arm. The pain was written across her face, but she refused to quit. She continued the assault using only her right hand, landing punches, kicks, and knees until the final bell. When the fight ended, everyone knew who had won. The judges scored it unanimously for Dakota, 30-27, 30-27, and 30-24. It wasn't just a victory, it was a lesson in grit. Yet, instead of celebrating wildly, Dakota looked heartbroken. "I think I've injured my left hand," she said afterward. "I'm just gutted. I've been out for so long and now I'm hurt again. But I hope you guys enjoyed it." That night, she learned an important truth. Not every opponent can be knocked out. Sometimes victory requires endurance as much as power. Before long, Dakota found herself facing another rival who doubted her, Shauna Bannon, a fiery Irish fighter with a reputation for chaos. Shauna, nicknamed Mama B, had an aura of confidence that bordered on arrogance. She believed she could easily dominate the young Dakota. She was tough, skilled, and undefeated in her early run. Her submission game was lethal, and her striking was crisp. But she made one fatal mistake. She thought Dakota was inexperienced. When they met inside the cage in February 2020, the crowd could feel the electricity. Bannon walked in smirking, and Dakota blew a kiss across the cage. The bell rang, and fireworks began instantly. They exchanged heavy kicks and punches, both refusing to back down. Bannon tried to close the distance and drag Dakota into a grappling exchange, but Dakota's strength was surprising. She held her ground, broke free, and unleashed brutal knees in the clinch. By the end of the first round, Bannon looked shaken. The second round began, and Dakota started targeting Bannon's lead leg with sharp kicks. You could hear the impact every time her shin connected. Bannon tried again to wrestle, but Dakota flipped her with ease, showing that she wasn't just a striker, she was an all-around fighter. Then came the turning point. Dakota pinned Bannon's arm and unleashed a barrage of heavy punches. The crowd gasped. It was no longer a beauty contest, it was a beating. Bannon tried to survive by clinching, but Dakota's power was overwhelming. Each shot landed with precision. The commentators were in awe. "She's dominating every exchange," one said. By the fourth round, Bannon was desperate. She threw spinning kicks, trying to catch Dakota off guard. But Dakota avoided them easily and countered with knees to the body. The crowd cheered as she took over completely. In the final round, Dakota landed another massive knee that nearly sent Bannon crashing to the mat. When the fight ended, there was no doubt who had won. Dakota Ditcheva was crowned the UKFC flyweight champion, her first MMA title. She celebrated with her mother, Lisa Howarth, herself a former world kickboxing champion. The arena exploded with cheers as Dakota danced to the music, smiling through tears of joy. But the story didn't end there. In 2024, Dakota entered the biggest fight of her life, the PFL America Final. Her opponent was the dangerous Brazilian, Taila Santos, a veteran of wars against elite fighters, including Valentina Shevchenko. Santos was powerful, technical, and confident. She mocked Dakota before the fight, smearing on lipstick to imitate her Barbie persona. "She's just a pretty face," Santos said. "I'm going to expose her." In Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, the two warriors faced off under blinding lights and roaring crowds. Dakota refused to touch gloves. The grudge was real. The bell rang, and she immediately went to work. Long kicks, stiff jabs, and sharp counters forced Santos on the defensive. The Brazilian tried to shoot for a takedown, but Dakota sprawled perfectly and made her pay with elbows and punches. Santos finally managed to get Dakota down for a moment, but the Brit scrambled out with ease. Once back on her feet, Dakota unleashed her full arsenal: front kicks, knees, and straight punches that snapped Santos's head back. The speed difference was clear. Every time Santos tried to engage, she got tagged. In the second round, Dakota's precision grew deadlier. She targeted Santos's body with sharp jabs and knees. The damage was piling up. Santos's ribs were bruised, and her breathing became heavy. The crowd could sense the end coming. Then Dakota landed a front kick straight to the face, followed by a vicious elbow and a two-punch combination to the body. Santos crumpled. The referee stepped in. It was over. Dakota Ditcheva had just won the PFL America Championship and a $1 million prize. The crowd went wild as she fell to her knees, overwhelmed with emotion. Moments later, she picked up the same lipstick that Santos had mocked her with and applied it in the middle of the cage, smiling proudly. It was her way of saying, "You tried to embarrass me, and I made you pay." Her mother joined her inside the octagon. Tears flowed as they embraced. Years of hard work, training, and sacrifice had paid off. Dakota wasn't just a fighter anymore. She was a world champion, a symbol of determination, and proof that strength and grace can coexist. As the commentators applauded her performance, fans realized they had just witnessed the birth of a superstar. Dakota Ditcheva, once doubted and disrespected, had silenced every critic in the most brutal, beautiful way imaginable. And that's why, in the world of mixed martial arts, there's one rule everyone should remember: never underestimate Dakota Ditcheva, because when you do, what happens next is always brutal.